Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Programming Concepts. I am Sayyid Naveed Abbas, and in this video, I will be showing you how to connect your Android Studio project with a Firebase Realtime Database for IoT project. So let's get started. First, you need to open any browser and go to Firebase. Go to firebase.google.com. Go to console. Create a new project. Enter the name here, IoT Android. Continue. Disable this. Continue. Okay, now we have successfully created a Firebase project. Now we go to the products and we select real-time database. Create database. So select the server location. So by default, it's United States. That's good. Next. And then it says if you want to start it from locked mode or the test mode. So if it is in the locked mode, we cannot modify it. So we can come here, modify the data. Otherwise, data cannot be modified through other using the APIs. So we're going to use the test mode. And this allows us to read and write for a specific time. So this is the expiry date. So after this, the test mode wouldn't work. So we enable it and move further. Okay, so now we have created this real-time database. Now we need to add the variables or nodes to store data. So I'm gonna click on this. I'm gonna name it IoT. Then I'm gonna add another node to it. So inside the IoT, I'm gonna add a temperature variable. So its value should be a number. So I'm gonna select 1 to 3. Default value should be 0. Add. Okay, now you can see in the IoT project I have added temperature. Okay, I'm gonna add humidity. Default value 0. Add. And next I'm gonna add fan button to turn on and off the fan. So I'm gonna put it false. Add. Okay, so these two values are integers, but this one is a binary, true or false. Okay, that's it. Okay, now we move on to the next phase in which we create an Android Studio project and connect this real-time database project to that Android Studio project. So I would minimize this and open Android Studio. Let me close this project. Okay, now we create a new project and select empty views activity. It should be IoT Android and select the language Java because we are going to cover this in Java. Select the API and finish. Okay, so I go to the toolbox. Okay, show man menu in separate toolbar, and select tools, go to Firebase, and here you can see all the services of Firebase. So we selected uh, real-time database, so you're gonna find that service here. Okay, here it is, real-time database. I'm gonna select this and get started with real-time database. Yes, connect to Firebase. Okay, so I'm gonna select the project IoT Android that we recently created. Okay, now I'm going to select connect. It says now the project is connected. So I come back here and see it says it is connected. This may take a while to connect sometimes, depending on the type of the project and the internet connection. Okay, now let me see. Okay, that's good. Okay, now it is connecting. Now we need to add database SDK to our application. So I'm going to select add and accept changes. Gradle project sync in progress. Okay, so SDK has been added successfully. Okay, now we create the user interface. So I'm gonna be adding two text boxes. So we input the sorry, two labels to read the temperature and humidity, and one button to change the value of fan button. So this is okay. Now that's it. Now we go to our coding. Okay, in the coding section, we need to refer to those controls in the man user interface and use them in the coding. So I'm going to use text view, and I'm going to call it label temperature. Import class so that its header file is imported, and I can use this control. Next, we have another text view. We call it label humidity, and then we have a button. We call it feeding fan. So for the first button, we need to import another widget. Okay, now we also need to set up the Firebase. So I'm going to use Firebase database, and I'm going to call it Firebase database, and also the Firebase reference, Firebase uh, database, Firebase reference. We call it Firebase reference. Okay, we need to import a class here. Sorry, it is database reference, not the Firebase reference. It's database reference. Okay. And now in the onCreate function, we need to set them up here. So we have a label temperature, and we're gonna convert it to text view, and we're gonna find view by ID, R ID, and we named it text temperature. Next level humidity, text view, find view by ID, text humidity, and then we have btn fan. It's a button. Find R ID and btn fan. Okay. Now we need to initialize the Firebase database. So Firebase database equals Firebase database get instance Firebase get instance Firebase database get instance. Okay, now we set up the reference. So database reference. Sorry, we have called it Firebase reference. Firebase reference equals Firebase database get reference, and path is IoT, like this, as we have this in here. So you can see we have this IoT reference, and then we can access these children. Okay. Now to access data from Firebase, we need to create a dedicated Java class. So I am going to here, application Java and new Java class, and I'm going to name it IoT. And here I have to create the similar Java class that represents these nodes in Firebase database. So first one is string temperature, and we have string humidity, and then we have true false boolean, fan btn, fan btn. Okay, next we need to create its default constructor. So default constructor is very important. If you do not create it, your application is going to crash on the launch. So for accessing the data and saving it to like, so we need this default constructor. Also, we need to set the modifier for these attributes as public so that we can access them. Public. Okay, in the default constructor, I'm going to initialize the values like temperature is, sorry, temperature is not a string, it's an integer. Integer. Okay, temperature equals 0, humidity equals 0, and fan btn is false. Okay, that's it. Now we go back to the main activity and we create a new function to access the data from real-time database. So we create a new function, private void get data. So we're going to use the database reference to access the on data change function from real-time database. So on data change, this is Firebase reference. Okay, our Firebase reference, this one here. We need to import another file. Okay, it is imported here. Okay, here we need to put our coding for accessing the data. So I'm going to access the data and put it into IoT class. So IoT equals snapshot get value into IoT class. So I'm going to get the value into our IoT class and put it in this instance of IoT class. Okay, then we also need to add on canceled function so that when cancel method is called, this toast message appears so that it says the failed to access the data. Okay, now we have accessed the data from real-time database into our this instance of IoT class. Now we can assign these values to above text views and labels. So I'm going to using so what was the lab temperature? So lab, so lab temperature set text equal to IoT temperature. So when we access the data, then we assign the values which are stored on real-time database to our labels on user interface. Also, I make sure that IoT is not null IoT, not equal to null. I put it here, and also label humidity, set text IoT humidity. Also, if the real-time database says that the fan button is turned on, then we need to change the label on the button. So if IoT fan button equals true, which means if the fan is already running, then btn fan set text turn off. Okay, we simplify it like this. Okay, if the fan button is already true, so we put the button text as turn off. Otherwise, btn fan set text equal to turn on, which is the default one. Okay, now we need to put the code for button change event. So if the user clicks on the fan button, what would happen? So btn fan on click set on click listener. Okay, so we put the code here. So if btn fan text get text equals to turn on. Okay, so if the fan btn text is turn on, then we put turn off on it and put the value true on the real-time database. So we're going to database Firebase reference child, and the child is fan btn set value to true. Okay, so when the user presses the fan button and the fan button says turn on, so we need to put the true value on the real-time database. Otherwise, we need to put Firebase reference child fan btn set value to false. Okay, our application is ready. Let me run this. So we run this and see what happens. Build is started. This may take some time depending on the performance of your system. Okay, so it says there's an issue. Okay, so we need to update it to 35 API or later. So we go to the Gradle. And we change the compile to 35 and 35. And sync now. Okay, the build is successful. Let's run this. Okay, the application is running on simulator device. Let me minimize this. Open this here side by side. Sorry, this here. Okay, now we see this is false, humidity 0 and temperature is 0. Let me change this to 35. But data is not changing here. Okay, we forgot something. We forgot to call the function here. Okay, so where it is here, we need to call the function get data. Sorry, get data. Also, when we write the values for a button, we need to change the text. So fan, btn fan, set text. Now the text should be turn off. In the same way here, btn fan, set text, turn on. But I think we don't need this because we have already done this here. But whatever, let's run this again. Okay, here and here. I think there's some problem because the application is keeping on crashing. Let me check. Okay, it keeps on crashing. Maybe because we also didn't have allowed the internet permission. So go to manifests and we need the permissions to access the internet. Okay, here we put the permissions, one for accessing internet and one for accessing the network state. Okay, we run this again. Again, it's keeping on stopping. Let's run this again. Okay, after looking thoroughly my entire code for a few minutes, I have realized my mistake that when I am using this get text, I'm not converting it to the string. So I'm gonna convert it to string, and then I can use contains function here and like that. So let's run this again. Again, it is just closing. Okay, after spending more time and using these breakpoints, I have come to know that my program crashes on these two lines. And when I observed very carefully, I come to know that the temperature is an integer and I am setting text to this, and that's causing the problem. So maybe if I try, so I'm going to convert this integer to string like this, and integer to string like this. Okay, let's run this again, and I hope this time it runs. Okay, so we have successfully run this program, and here you can see these values have been fetched here. So if I turn the fan on, you can see the value changes here, and also the label changes here. Turn on and off. Okay, now let me change the humidity to 50. So these values are reflected here. Let me turn down the temperature a little, 30, and yes, it is working. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. In the next video, I will be using Arduino kind of hardware for this project to make a real IoT project using this IoT Android project. So until then, take care, keep learning. Allah Hafiz.